Hello and welcome to my vlog of some sorts of my trip a few months ago to the home of metal's Black Sabbath 50 years, a major exhibition. Do you like my new jacket, by the way? It has tassels. So first things first, don't worry, I'm not about to become one of those vlogging channels that does random videos of just days out. I thought this day out was a particularly important one as it has everything to do with the origins of the great musical genre of heavy metal. Before we talk about the actual day itself and the actual event I went to, let's just talk a bit about the home of metal. So what is the home of metal? Well, they are a sort of like a musical arts heritage society or company, whatever they might be. It has a lot of funding actually from the Arts Council of England, and it's there to sort of preserve and bolster the rich musical history of Birmingham and the rest of the Midlands, as far as I'm aware, with with the contribution that area made, which was heavy metal. Now, those of you who aren't British might not realise this, but some of the towns, some of the cities within Britain, or I'm just going to specifically talk about England here, have like particular musical scenes. There's like Merseyside, Merseybeat, Liverpool-based sort of music that has a rich heritage. There's Manchester has its thing going with bands and the sounds that Manchester made that's sort of celebrated quite heavily. The same with Liverpool. London has it, but for whatever reason, probably because it's heavy metal, to be honest, Birmingham gets overlooked despite it contributing, at least for my personal taste, one of the richest contributions to music sort of globally, which is to be the birthplace of heavy metal music. It's not just the fact that the bands themselves came from that. The whole sort of heavy metal style and sound came literally from heavy metal. It came from the heavy industry that people would work in, and even people who actually ended up inventing the genre, say Tony Iommi himself, the guitarist from Black Sabbath, the man who basically created the heavy metal sound, even worked, and he actually had an accident losing some of the fingertips by working in the, I believe it was the steel industry. And yeah, it's overlooked across a lot of Britain, a lot of England, unless you are really into heavy metal, where you sort of see it and respect it. It's sort of overlooked and ignored compared to the other cities that have their own musical sound. And not to downplay them or anything, it's a shame to see one ignored. And so that's as far as I'm aware what sort of brought Home of Metal kicking into existence. They wanted to celebrate their musical heritage, and it's a fantastic thing to see. And the people who work in it are just enthused, and they really care about their musical heritage, and it really shows in the presentation they give. Yeah, they put on a fantastic event. So let's talk about the event itself. So it was the early summer of 2019. I'd heard of Home of Metal before, and I'd heard of sort of small events they'd put on here and there, but then they decided to put on this big event, the Black Sabbath 50 years event. And yeah, when I saw the pictures of where it was set out, I knew I had to go. So yeah, by August last year in 2019, myself and my fiance popped in the car, put the Black Sabbath on full volume, and just drove over to Birmingham. And yeah, it took place actually in the beautiful building, which is the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery. And now I've been told by the people who work there that this is one of the only events I've ever put on that you actually had to pay for, and I can say it was quite worth it. If you hadn't ever known anything about Black Sabbath before, by going into it you'd have a rich understanding of the band, especially its early history, the sound, and what made the sound. Like I said, being so rich in the heritage of Birmingham and the Midlands, you really get to see the history and the culture behind the music and behind actually what influenced the band. Now, for me, I knew a lot about the band beforehand, watched documentaries, read books and stuff like that, so a lot of this I already knew, but it was still a fantastic event, and yeah, I think if you didn't know much about it, you'd certainly know a lot about the band by the end of it. So this whole exhibition focused mostly on the original lineup run, going from the first album, going from Black Sabbath all the way through to Never Say Die. There was a sort of an area dedicated to sort of Ozzy solo career onwards, but it didn't really look much as the Black Sabbath going further on. But I think maybe that might be because they started gaining members from London and then some American members, and sort of they became a little bit less holy brum. But this is where the music started off, and it was a really, really cool event. So you walk through the door, and what greets you there is a massive Black Sabbath logo written in the Masters of Reality font, and of course there's a dot on the floor that says "Please take a picture here." So of course I had to have a load of pictures taken in front of that. It looked great. And then, yeah, you hear Black Sabbath blaring the whole way through, and in fact, as we were walking down the stairs to even get to that part of the museum/art gallery, we could start hearing, the drudging Iron Man riff pounding out. And that was sort of made it really exciting. I got excited, yeah. And then you go through there, and you can go around the whole museum clockwise, but I went straight for the middle section, which was actually quartered up with a little bit here or there of every member of the band, and just a little thing about them, and then a piece of stage gear or equipment. And of course I had to get a picture next to Tony Iommi's guitar. It might not be the one he actually recorded the early albums with, but I like to imagine it is, and yeah, I'm happy as Larry in that picture. Really, really cool to see, seeing the guitar that has influenced a lot of my playing and what I listen to, and, formed the genre that I love the most. My favourite genre of music is heavy metal. You felt swept up in sort of the history of it. We then move around, and there was a really cool bit where they've got a load of old pictures of sort of Aston, which is the area of Birmingham that Black Sabbath grew up in, and it's also the area for my fiance's favourite football team, Aston Villa, up the villains. I think that's what they say. I don't really watch football. Sorry, Dad. Jack on me. And then they had on the screen they'd done these fresh interviews with all 4 members of the original lineup, and they put the headphones on, and as well as hearing sort of the sound of sort of the steel and everything. And if that is truly what it was like to live in Aston at the time, then I wouldn't be surprised if most people living there didn't get tinnitus with the sheer amount of noise that was going on. But it sort of gives you that you can really start to hear where this music would come from. And the interviews are lovely to listen to. It gives you a nice fresh sort of retelling of the tale of how the band was formed, and just simply growing up in Birmingham, and specifically Aston, and how sort of that area and sort of the industry and the culture of the people and the culture of the area really influenced their early lives and what ends up making their music. And as you go further around, it goes a little bit more forward in time. One thing I also have to take a picture of is, seeing as I'm a Laney fanboy, is this old Laney supergroup amp, which once again, I think is one of the ones he actually performed with, and I really want to play that amp. Just one other thing, if we look on here, we actually have a load of the companies and people and societies that help fund this, and we can see that Laney themselves are there. They do seem to do quite a lot for the sake of the heritage, Midlands music and Birmingham, heavy metal, which is really cool to see. And then we get to one of my favourite bits, which was actually literally Tony Iommi's recording studio, ripped out of his house and rebuilt here, and to see a load of the guitars he actually uses there, and a load of his equipment. Really interesting some of the stuff there. Now, I think that recording studio was used for a later album. I think it was used for The Devil You Know, which is a great album, Black Sabbath's second to last album, and I do count it as a Black Sabbath album, despite it not having the name Black Sabbath on it. It's just the Dio line of Black Sabbath. You move further around, and you get into sort of this area with a stage set up and all the equipment. Great bit of stage rock. It was sort of, I think it was some of the equipment they used in their last tours. Of course, I've got a picture next to Iommi's stack, of course, and I've got one next to Geezer Butler's stack, which is equally as impressive. There's some stage outfits there, but you take a picture of those, and you get to see sort of Black Sabbath, the twilight years of Black Sabbath, going into sort of the tour for the end, and the 13 album, as well as some of Ozzy Osbourne stuff. And then we move around and we start, and there was this really cool bit actually, which I didn't take a picture of, which I should have done, of a load of modified wah-wah pedals, because I think Geezer has had a new crybaby come out from Dunlop. But then what do I hear? I hear some guitar strings plucking, and it was really cool actually of both Laney and Gibson to donate a couple of guitars. They had some Gibson SGs, some Gibson Explorers, and Epiphone Explorer, and a load of the Iommi signature Epiphone SGs there. And Laney also put some amps in, and you could just sit there and play. And so I of course had to bang out a couple of riffs on a couple of different guitars. Really, really cool. And then there was a bit which was less Black Sabbath. It was definitely Black Sabbath based, but it was almost, I feel like it was for lack of a better term, like the metal community. And actually all these people on the front of the program here, they were all over the walls. And as well as that, there were loads of t-shirts from this. I think there's this guy who's a massive Sabbath and Ozzy fan, had his t-shirts out of his collection. My word, man, you got a lot of t-shirts. It was really cool. But as well as that, there were other there were patched up battle jacks, if you want to call them, and there were dolls and stuff made. There was a doll of the weird demon baby from the Born Again album, which I found quite interesting because, like I said, there was very little that wasn't the Ozzy period. One of the walls mentioned that after they split with Ozzy originally, that they went off to do albums with Bonnie James Dio, but it was based around that. It's interesting to see Gillan there, because I think he's a Londoner. But if anything, that just goes to show sort of it doesn't matter so much that he's from elsewhere. Because metal, well, it ballooned out. It's not just just this regional thing. Just like the Merseyside, Mersey v Liverpudlian music, it went global. Millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of records sold by thousands of artists. All comes from this one particular place, and you could really feel it there. Then moved on to the gift shop, and of course we have to buy a couple of things. So let's get the big things out of the way first. So actually, what I'm wearing right here, which I'll spin around now, is a cool, I think it's would you call it a baseball top if you're an American? I'm not really sure. Just a top of this particular event. I love the purple because Masters of Reality is one of my favourite Black Sabbath albums. with the whole like with like the angel demon thing on there, and on the back has Home of Metal, really cool. I also got, actually my fiance got this, but I'll model that as well because I think it's a unisex or a men's one, which is just the Black Sabbath logo with the Master of Reality sort of font and the colours. Love the purple. I also had to get a couple of patches because I've just recently bought a couple of denim jackets. I want to get some patches on there. So I've got firstly this Black Sabbath one. You can get that. Haven't unsealed it yet. Haven't sewn it on. You like that? And of course, I was so sort of taken aback by it all that I even want to go around repping the Home of Metal, Birmingham, UK. I'm not a Brum. You can probably tell from my accent, but I want to rep this. I want to put this on my jacket and walk around with Home of Metal on, because man, what an organisation they are. It was really fun. I loved it. It was. I actually did. I just sort of talked you around the whole place, but that wasn't the only lap I did. I did multiple laps. I kept going over to the guitar in the case. I kept looking into the built studio, trying to sort of get my glasses ready, checking out all the equipment, seeing what he's got, seeing what he works with. You were invited into Black Sabbath that day. I felt invited into Birmingham. And I'd like to give a shout out actually to the two people who served us that day, and I'm afraid I didn't like write your names down, so I can't remember you, I'm afraid. It was a lady and a man, and the lady was on the till selling all the merchandise, and she helped us find out some nice stuff, and you know, just lovely to chat to. These people are like, it's not just, you know, got to it and it's just someone who's just working there, it's a job. These are I think some of them are volunteers, and some of them just, they really care. This is their music. This is their culture. And yeah, I was having a chat with her, and then she brings over the man who, hello if you're watching this, really thank you for this, but I just really can't remember your name. And he told me about the bench. Now I remember seeing this earlier online like ages ago, but I completely forgot about it. He reminded me of it, and I was like, oh yeah, where is that? And he was like, this is down here, mate, just near a bridge near one of the canals. And I was like, oh, could you give me directions? He was like, I'll do better than that. And so he walked us out of the art gallery he was working in, took us right down the road and like quite far away from the building and pointed us towards it. What a guy. He did not need to do that. He absolutely did not need to do it, but he went and did it. Thank you if you're watching this. That you took me that was already sort of had loved my day, was really like into everything, and you just made it so much better. So yeah, we walked down, and actually firstly, before we got there, we came across the Birmingham Hall of Fame, and so I found Tony Iommi's star. You can tell I'm a bit of a Tony Iommi fan, obviously being a guitarist, and took a picture of that, and then we found the Black Sabbath bridge and the Black Sabbath bench, and what a cool thing this is. It's a bench, sort of really hard. I think it's like marble metal. I was saying it was metal, and yeah, heavy metal, literally. And it's got the 4 original members sort of in their youthful looks, sort of like smelted into there, I guess. And of course, I had to sit in the middle, put my arms around them, and someone laughed actually as they were walking past, as I had the picture taken of me. What a day. I'm actually keeping an eye now on the Home of Metal stuff, and Birmingham's quite far away from me, so I can't come to like a lot of their events, but I'm definitely looking forward to coming to another one. I know they do events not just on Black Sabbath, because of course, you know, Birmingham and the Midlands have a really rich history of metal music, obviously, with other bands like Diamond Head or like Judas Priest, just to name a few. Yeah, they always put on these really cool events, and I realised that they've had some events before. They've had like Glenn Tipton's guitars and stuff like that from Judas Priest. Yeah, really cool stuff I want to go see. So yeah, I highly recommend, if you live in the United Kingdom, looking up Home of Metal and seeing what events are on, if you like heavy metal music or Black Sabbath, and going to some and seeing what there are. They said a lot of their events are free. It's just that particular one, I think, because they hire such a large venue and a lot of, you know, stuff went into it. They were charging for it, but that's okay. You know, you want to keep organisations like this running. But you know, even if you're not, even if you're, you know, live on the continent, Asia, America, Africa, wherever, and you're big into heavy metal, big into Black Sabbath, want to, you know, come to the birthplace of the entire genre, then, you know, if you're planning a trip to Britain, definitely see if you can catch one of their dates. Yeah, so just want to end this video with a thank you once again to the lovely man and woman who helped us out. I'm really sorry I can't remember your name. And also the city of Birmingham for being such a lovely place, actually. I'd been once to the NEC, I've been once before to the Cadbury's factories, but sort of they're just like one just big place. I got to, go through the whole city and everything this time and experience that, and it was wonderful. It was really, really lovely. So yeah, I look forward to coming back over to the home of heavy metal again and experiencing another one of your exhibitions sometime soon. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.